Welcome to the Beauty Blend podcast, where we delve deep into the world of beauty from the inside out. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we have a very special guest, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining. We're
Thanks
so
for
excited.
having me.
Yes.
Thanks for
So we're going to let you kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself just to get us started.
Okay, so I began about 28 years ago, and the first thing I was able to do was channel because I took a Reiki class and it opened up my psychic awareness. So I started channeling, having clairaudience, as we call it, the hearing function. Then I developed the seeing and the feeling. And so I've been working as a psychic all of this time, but also as a hypnotherapist. So I actually call myself a spiritual guide now, rather than psychic so much, but I am a psychic medium. I do hypnosis and past life regression.
That's how I first met you.
fascinating.
Like
Is
5
it?
years ago. Yeah, we did a past life and it was quite profound. Yeah.
That's actually
Good.
I remember, sorry, not to
Oh, actually, this is a funny story.
Funny story. I don't know if you knew this, but we
Oh,
were both
shoot.
hadn't really talked to each other about any of this, but we're
No.
both looking for something, and happened to both of us
We
stumble
were at
upon
like
you.
no, but we were at a lunch and we are talking with Dad. We're both like, oh, we're going to like a.
We're like, yeah, I found someone. She's like, I found someone
too.
too. And then she's like, oh, when are you going? And then we found out it was you together. And we're like, well, that's weird.
Same day.
Same day, like I think like 2 hours apart.
I think I do
And then
remember
Yes.
it ended
that.
up being, your schedule like switched around and we ended up being back to back.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was
Anyway,
very weird. We
it
were meant
was
to find
weird.
you.
Yeah.
And it's funny how that's transpired years later.
Mhm.
And now you're here.
Honestly, some of the most magical things happen in this
Mhm.
realm.
Yes,
They
it's very
really
cool.
do.
Yeah.
So thanks for reminding me of
Yeah,
that. I
that's
forgot
so
about
sick.
I
that.
kind of forgot until you started saying
That
that.
is really amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm also into energy body work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting with Reiki, but I do lots of different types of energy body work, and I love that whole realm. So I created something I call defragmenting. Just like defragmenting a computer, I can defragment your energy system to create more space for you. And most people feel so much better.
I think that was a key component in my past life hypnosis was you did that to start off to get me out of my like head, so to
Yes,
speak, my 5%
yes.
brain, which we'll get into.
We'll get into that
later.
5%, yeah.
Yeah, to like help me just like ease into that because I think there's a lot of kind of emotion kind of going into that.
Yeah, and I did defragmenting with you several rounds of that last year. I had a rough year, and I think that really helped propel my healing and helped me have a better year, to be honest.
Yeah, it's comprehensive. It's my
Mhm.
most comprehensive session and my most popular session.
Mhm.
And speaking of comprehensive,
Yeah,
This
this
book.
Command-
So
yes,
Cindy came out with an awesome book
Yeah.
called Commandifestation.
this is actually my third book.
That's amazing.
I have two other books that are channeled, one with the Hindu god Vishnu and the other one with the Buddha. This is very different, though. This is me talking to you
I
this
love
time.
it. And you quote some of those books.
You quote a
in
lot.
I do.
there.
in
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
actually.
There's a lot of quoting. So Britt and I read this book before this, and I loved it. It
Yeah,
was
me
a
too.
great. There's a lot of exercises in it that helps you kind of get to a different point. But yeah, I want to talk about kind of what made you even
Let's
start this book.
I want to know what exactly Commandifestation means.
Okay,
so
let's
let's
do
start
that.
there.
Well, then, if you
Let's
look
go
in the
that route.
beginning, I actually have the pronunciation Commandifestation.
Yeah.
It means to give authoritative order or to bring something into existence. I made up the word,
Yeah.
but actually it just came to me.
Oh.
One morning I was driving and I was thinking, I want to do a workshop about all this stuff that I've learned and practiced for all these years. And what would I call it? You know, everybody's using manifestation.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like I figured out this important key that nobody's talking about,
Right.
which I reveal at the end of the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what would I call it? Commanding manifestation. Yeah,
Yeah.
commandifestation. That popped into my head, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a workshop on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that workshop
Mm-hmm.
early 2023 in January.
Awesome.
And when I was done, I thought, I could do this for 36 people at a time, or I could just write a book
Yeah.
and put it all in one place. And that's what happened. That's how it happened.
Oh, do you know what's kind of funny? We had a session December 2022, I believe,
Is
and
that
we
what it
talked
was?
about like commanding what you want to call in, and how sometimes we feel like we have to be polite, and I think that's the human kind of nature. But you're like, no,
Yes.
you can command things.
Yeah, because when I told her about this book, she's like, I have a feeling I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She told me about this
yeah,
years ago and how I need to start doing it.
Wow,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's funny.
And to me,
That's-
like,
it's really
you know,
awesome.
we, like you said, everyone talks about let's manifest this. I actually really do feel like commandifestation actually, it makes more sense to me. Like I feel like I
Good.
picked up on it.
I'm
It aligned with
glad.
me a little
I'm
better.
glad. Yeah.
Yeah, than just I feel like because I think the manifestation word gets thrown around a lot and not
Yeah.
really used correctly anymore.
Right.
Where this was a very like to the point. This is what you need to
Right.
do. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we think we're manifesting something, but we're really probably not, or we're not aligned with it, or we're not
Right.
really
Well,
doing it
or
the
we're
right way.
intending to, and then we're blocking it,
Exactly.
or we're canceling it out with
Mhm.
doubt.
Totally.
Oh, that's a good place for
Yeah.
you to go with that. You talk about like the 5%, which is like
Yeah.
your brain,
Yes.
and 95%.
Yes.
I'm curious to know more about that. Or if
Well,
you could
I don't have any
explain
science behind
it.
that,
Yeah.
but I've gotten that from the spirit world because I
Yeah.
talk to so many spirits.
Yeah.
They say your brain is about 5% of your consciousness.
Mhm.
The other 95%, your soul, is trying to talk to you,
Yeah.
but it can't if you're thinking,
Right.
Mhm.
especially if you're thinking negative thoughts.
Mhm.
Right.
So why would we trust our 5%?
Right.
I agree.
Or why would we try to figure stuff out with
Solely
that?
rely on it. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And what I
Yeah.
liked about the 95%, you're like, that can see like all.
Yeah.
Like it
The
sees
bigger
the bigger
picture.
Yeah,
picture.
the
Whereas your
90
mind can't even comprehend some of these things that could come through for you. Whereas the
Mhm.
95%
Right.
is like seeing
Right.
everything.
Targeted on
Yeah.
one thing, it doesn't see. Maybe you don't need that one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something better out there.
Right,
Yeah.
you get that part. And I love that because
Mhm.
people say, well, I know what I want. I'm like, do you know or do you just think
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know? Because I don't think we can truly know in our minds
Right.
what our soul wants.
Mhm.
I agree.
And
I love
why
how
don't
you
we
talk
ask it?
about like asking to be guided in your soul's like evolution versus like I think
Yeah.
how you talk about like desires and how we can get confused what our mind wants and our
Yeah.
heart wants. And a good way is to just ask that you be led where your soul wants to.
Right. Right. And that's what I reveal at the end.
Mhm.
After I've got it set up, which we got to talk about blocks too.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have
all of it.
Yeah.
I gotta break it down.
Yeah.
I have 18 different blocks in here,
Right.
even though they're all the mine.
Yeah.
They're all the
That
5%.
5%, which I love how you said that in the day, 95% overrides the 5.
It
if we
does.
let it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And it
Mhm.
wants to.
And it wants to, yeah.
But we're so attached to
To
this
that 5%.
thinking mind. And we think that it's wise
Mhm.
and knowledge is power and
Mhm.
all
Yeah, I
that
agree.
stuff.
But yeah,
I
let's
think
go
we
to
also
some of
think
the
we have to have the answer to everything too, which is why I think our brains get so caught on that because we want a
Right.
definitive on
Right.
something.
We want the answer now.
Now, yeah, you
Yeah.
But the soul gives us the answer when we need it.
We need it.
Oh, that brings up another
Yes.
good point. Not to get too far off the topic of
Yeah.
blogs, but I remember I always feel resistant to when people are like, "You need to have." I do like vision boards. I do like setting goals, but there's like I don't like saying I have to have 5-year, 10-year plan because I always feel like I kind of it always changes.
Same
and I
here.
felt resistant to
Mhm.
when people ask me that, and I like how you said you don't need to know all the answers right now. Just like next steps, and then it kind of see how it flows.
Man, how unfolds.
Unfolds, yeah,
I
like what
that.
kind of signs like come through and things like that.
That all being said, I still write a list of intentions at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
same,
year.
same, and just
You know,
be,
these are some things I'd like to
where
have
you want to
manifest,
direct that energy to.
or
yeah.
whatever my soul wants.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the blocks though. Do you want to go through some of
Yeah,
the blocks that you bring up,
sure.
at least the main ones that you feel like are a big issue? For
Well, the
people?
ego.
Yeah.
Once we understand the two parts of our mind,
Mhm.
we understand that the ego is our biggest block.
Mhm.
Even though we call it healing, we call it beliefs, we call it worry, we call it punishment, we call it anxiety, depression.
Mhm.
It's the mind. Now, I go into all these things. Beliefs is an interesting one.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah.
remember that part,
Yeah.
but it's like sometimes our beliefs, if we're so stuck in something, that can block us from other possibility because
Right.
the 95% of us wants to show us more possibility.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's a big one. I mean, they're all big ones, I suppose. Healing, the concept of healing.
We talk about
Can-
this
Mhm, we
actually.
did talk about this.
Sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do think you could go down the rabbit hole of like never feeling
It's
healed
never
enough,
ending.
or like it's never
Mhm.
you're. There's this underlying energy I find sometimes with not enough with the healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Right,
agree.
right.
Yeah, or it's like I'm never gonna be. You feel like even though maybe you have healed more than you used to be, you don't ever notice it because you're always wanting to do more
Right.
and more and more and
Yeah.
more, and you never feel like you've made it.
I kind of
And-
like what you're saying though about attaching yourself to like the word trauma and like how that can kind
Right.
of like negatively
Yes.
manifest and like kind of
Mhm.
releasing that energy towards the word trauma.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Not
It's
to
just a
neglect
label.
that people go through traumatic things, but sometimes I think we kind of get stuck on that. And
Yeah, but I think we all do.
Yeah, we
We've
all have
had
different-
something traumatic.
Everybody has their own
Exactly.
view of what
And
trauma was in their life.
Right. Well, then I'll
Mhm.
have people say, well, but this was really, really bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're making it worse.
Yeah.
Every time you think about it and
Yeah, you're
talk
right.
about it.
Mhm.
So maybe don't label it that. Maybe label it something that happened
Mhm.
And this
or
is
move on from it.
It was an
how
experience that I
I'm
went through.
experienced to help my soul evolve is like how I like to
Right.
think of it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I believe that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That everything happens to help us evolve.
Right.
Needs, wants, and attachments, that kind of,
Yeah.
naturally evolves into that. And what do we think we need? What do we want?
Oh,
What are we
yeah.
attached to?
Oh, that's
Get
something
it.
I wanted to bring up was the two words that you said, or you should kind of get rid of your vocabulary, was needs
Mhm.
and butts.
And
Butts.
So I'm curious if you're going to
I
expand
love
on that a little bit
I
more.
love that one.
Yeah.
Did you like where I said, give me your butt?
Butts,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because whenever somebody says but, I'm like, oh, well, great. You're about to tell us something
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
we can work on.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's that limiting belief when you say but,
It's
right?
excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love him, but it's
Mhm.
like you're about to cancel out what you just said.
Yeah.
Or you're about to give an excuse why you can't change.
Yeah.
Well, I used to exercise, but, or I
Mhm.
used to meditate, but.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And then the
Excuses.
needs, it was kind of like if you're saying you need something that's actually coming from like an energy of lack, isn't that kind of what you were
Right.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's different words you could say to rephrase it. I feel
Yeah,
like,
give us a
yeah, give me a couple.
remind us what to rephrase those. Do you remember what?
To rephrase a need,
Yeah.
like I need money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I operate more easily with money.
I operate more easily.
Or, like,
I
Yeah,
knew.
shift
Motto.
to operate more easily
can you
with
think of
money.
something that you feel like you need?
Money. I knew it was a good one. That's why we said it.
It's got on top of our mind.
That's why we paused. Yeah,
We
I
all
think that's a
need
good one.
money, but there are so many
abundance
different
thing.
Ways that it can
like
come through.
levels of need when it comes to
Right.
money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, some people need to eat tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when people say, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, keep up my lifestyle,
Mhm.
with my husband having 2 jobs and me having a job, like they don't really,
Right.
they're living in lack, even though
Mhm.
they've got plenty,
Mm-hmm.
So need.
Yeah, it's like a survival. Yeah.
Need is being needy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't believe something's right in my life and I need something.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't be happy unless I have it.
Yeah.
That's that attachment to
meant-
something out here
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have yet.
That makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a good one.
Getting trapped in the familiar is another one,
Mhm.
which we kind of talked
Oh,
about.
yeah.
The butts we talked
I
about.
struggle that with like
And-
relationships, like getting out of a relationship. You
Mhm.
know it's not right, but you're kind of trapped in that
Yeah.
familiarity of it.
Well,
That's right.
It feels
feels
like it's
like
safe,
safe
even if it's
be-
not.
Yeah,
But
because
because you know
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you know what to expect.
Because the
almost.
5% wants to revert us to the familiar to
Yeah,
be
right.
safe.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So that's why some people try something new and then they go back to what they were doing, or they go back to the same person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's too familiar.
Yeah, because it's familiar, it feels safe.
Mhm.
Right.
Worry. Oh, I should have brought my
You actually brought.
finger puppets.
Oh yeah.
Aw.
I use finger puppets in my office and for my
Aw.
lectures
Yeah.
when I talk about worry, because when you're worrying about someone, you're actually projecting negative energy toward them
Oh yeah.
and you're losing your energy.
Yeah, I've always done that. I
So-
get mad when people worry about me because I'm like, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
helping.
It's not
Mhm,
helping
that's a
me.
good one, yeah.
And I think we think that it's going to help because most of the things we worry about don't really happen.
Yeah.
And so we think it contributes toward preventing it.
Right.
No.
Doesn't.
Makes it worse. Yeah.
Punishment, of course, a lot of that is conceptual.
Mhm.
What we believe we deserve,
Oh yeah, that's
It's a
a
big
whatever
one.
you believe you deserve is what
Mhm.
you deserve.
Yeah.
So choose a new belief and then go back to the belief section. If you don't understand, you can change your beliefs
Right.
in any moment.
Do you ever what do you do with people who don't who don't even know what they think they believe they deserve? Does that make sense? What I'm asking, like they're not
Yeah.
even aware of what they think they deserve.
Right. Well, they're pretty far away from awareness
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
themselves, and that would go back to their belief system, in my opinion.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Like
agree.
if they don't believe they deserve something, then where is that coming
Where's
from?
that
Yeah.
belief?
And why do you keep choosing to believe that?
Right.
Mhm.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah,
what
pretty
anybody
deep.
told you or
Right.
how anybody judged you or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few times in our sessions where you're like, well, that's just a thought. You can change that thought.
Yes,
It's like almost
you
like
do
so
say that,
simple.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we just have to
Yeah.
be more consciously like aware. I think that's the biggest thing.
Oh, and I don't know if you caught this, but one of my favorite things comes from Stoicism,
Mhm.
where things don't have to be positive or negative.
Yeah, I love that.
I
Neutral.
loved that.
You can
yes.
choose to have no opinion
Yeah.
about politics, about a
Mhm.
person
Mhm.
who you think is toxic, which is another bad label.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I'm
choose to
starting.
have no opinion, be neutral.
Yeah.
And in that space is total freedom.
I would say it's
I
free.
am starting to get to that more and more, I will say.
Yeah.
I feel like that more politics is a good one. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm-
so like, don't
At
care.
this
You're right.
point,
It is
yeah,
freedom because
it
I'm not
is
stressed
freedom.
either way. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it all kind of
There's
stinks.
no anxiety there.
No, none.
It's kind of like when I watch football and I don't care which team wins.
I
I'm just kidding.
mean, that's a good example.
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a good example.
My
You
life
know?
doesn't change regardless of how it plays out.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that
Yeah.
because I like watching football, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't care. Like, whatever happens, happen. I'm not gonna. But people get really affected by stuff like that.
I know
so,
they
yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
the co-host of my podcast is actually a football coach.
Oh, really?
Okay.
And I said, well, which team are you interested in winning this bowl game or whatever? And he'll say, I'm just interested in watching good football.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good-
way
yeah.
to
And
look
I'm
at
That's
it.
kind of how I
oh,
feel.
That's
Yeah.
kind of a stoic approach.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
how I like
A
football. I just
neutral
want to watch a good
approach.
game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Watch the
great.
plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And then there's no anxiety.
Don't care.
Right.
Yeah, my day's gonna. I'm gonna go about my day
Right.
the rest of the day and not care
Yeah.
what happened.
And you
Yeah.
don't have to be let down
Mm-mm.
Right.
or whatever.
My mood's not gonna change. Yeah,
Love
it's
that.
affected. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too.
And I want to take. Okay. Yeah.
Did we get through all the blocks?
Well,
The blocks,
there's a
maybe.
lot of blocks.
I don't know. Let's list a few more because I bet there's some that people are
Well,
resonate
money.
with.
Money's a block.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's
of
a
your
big one.
the concept of money that a person has,
Yeah.
where it's evil or it's dirty,
Like greedy
or
almost.
or people who have money are bad people or greedy people.
Mhm.
Like, where?
Yeah.
Why do you need to hang on to that belief
Mhm.
Right.
when money's just energy?
Yeah.
And I quote Vishnu there
Yeah.
with that when he said money's just energy. So think about money with the same attitude. I'm sure people are interested in this, so I'm just going to share.
Yeah.
it.
Please do.
Have the same attitude about money as you have about ice cream. You know you love it. You know it's available everywhere,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you don't know where you're getting it the next time you enjoy it.
Oh, I
love
love
that
that
example.
example.
Yeah, and it's like, right, I can get it
awesome.
whenever I want to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We know we can get ice cream whenever we want to.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There are ways we can get money that we've never thought of in our mind with our
Mhm.
5%.
Right.
Or 95 has all the ideas.
I know
that.
exactly. That's a good.
It's exciting. See, she's
I
like,
think
yeah,
it's
it's unlimited.
That really is
It
exciting. It's
is.
like
Yeah.
invigorating to hear that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ice cream example is great. That'll stick in my brain.
Yeah, good.
You know I'm gonna love that
Yeah.
one.
Right. It's just the ice cream.
Every time you eat ice
attitude.
cream, you're gonna
I'm
think
thinking
about
Cindy.
money.
Cindy and money.
Right. So think of the ice cream attitude.
I like it.
Right? Yeah.
That's exciting.
Outside influences. Well, this person I work with is toxic, so this is why I'm not happy, or why I can't have a better life, or whatever,
Mhm.
my boss, or whatever. Other people in comparisons, kind of the same thing.
Mm.
But when I'm talking about outside influences, I'm talking about more about like electromagnetic frequencies. Some
Mm.
people are freaked out about chemtrails or whatever it is they think is affecting them.
Mm.
And it's like, if you
Mm.
believe that's affecting you, probably
Right.
is because you're
Mhm, mhm,
manifesting
mhm.
it.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Yeah.
what if you believe that you're stronger than that?
Mhm.
That's kind of how I feel with that stuff. I feel like
Because-
I'm stronger than that.
Yeah, because whatever we believe is true.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Our brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. Our body will follow the brain.
Right. And I feel like if you go
Mm.
down that route, there's so many things at the end of the day you could say are cancerous or toxic. and
everything
I
are.
won't
Yeah.
even let myself go down that because I'm like, I can't do anything.
You wouldn't
then,
eat or
you know?
do anything. You
You
wouldn't
know?
leave the house. Actually, your house wouldn't even be safe. I mean,
That's right.
seriously.
Right.
You would never
So
feel
what
safe.
about people in their 90s who are still smoking?
Yeah.
So does smoking kill you? Well, some people,
Yeah.
but not everyone.
Right.
It's true.
So
you're right.
they must believe that it's okay for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
That's
one.
true.
And so maybe it is.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's unique. That's the thing that's
Right.
important. We
Mhm.
can't say this applies to everyone. Nothing applies to everyone
Right.
except these laws of 95%, 5%. What
Mhm.
you think about, you're creating. What you believe is possible is possible. I do talk about spirit entities because I'm a Ghostbuster,
Mhm.
among other things, which I forgot to mention. But I do a lot of house clearings of entities from people.
Mhm.
It's more common than you realize, but not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not severe.
Yeah.
It's not serious. And I do talk about that, but when people try to blame that on their behavior,
Right.
Yeah.
No.
that's a block.
Mhm.
Concepts of past lives and karma. Now you came
Yeah.
from past
Yeah.
life regression.
Yeah.
Um, past lives. Oh, I could go into a whole.
I
other
know. It
lecture on
needs to
that.
be a whole nother
whole-
book. I
But
think.
what
Another
I wanna
episode, maybe.
say-
Yeah.
Right, or another book. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the concept of karma is not something we can understand with our 5% mind.
Right.
So let's just quit that.
I agree.
Right.
And move on,
So
and
try to
don't
figure
say,
it
"Oh,
out.
I've got some karma with this person, so I have to stay with him," or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mm.
Right.
No, leave that alone. Alcohol and drugs can be a block. They
Right.
lower our vibrational frequency,
Mhm.
many of them, and we know that's not good for us.
Mhm.
You know, the things that we know are not good for us.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, there is some science
Mhm.
with our bodies
Yeah.
and junk food and
Yeah.
substances. Trauma we talked about,
Yeah.
fears, anxiety. Do you have anxiety, or do you just let everything cause anxiety for you
Mhm.
by thinking in the past or the future?
Right.
That's where anxiety lives,
Yeah.
not in that neutral present moment
Yeah, that's true.
of just enjoying
Yeah.
some good football.
Some good football. Well, football
Good
game.
place.
Right. Right. Rituals and techniques is an interesting one
Yeah, I
because
liked this one. It was not how I
Did you?
didn't picture. Yeah, go ahead though. 'Cause
Oh,
that was kind
okay.
of interesting.
yeah, I've noticed when clients get a little more obsessed with their new
Yeah.
techniques or their spiritual rituals, that they're spending hours a day just on
Yeah.
prayer or journaling or meditating. I had a client say, "I'm meditating 4 hours a day." I'm like,
Oh wow.
"Wow, I'm not."
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds like a way of avoiding
Escaping. Yeah.
or escaping.
I always say spiritualism can kind of be an
That's kind of I think
escapism.
what I like this
Yes.
section because it was kind of we were kind of saying. It's like almost when does it end, or there's an extent where we're trying to just get away from reality in
Yeah.
a sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Right.
just- yeah. So the 4 hours a day. That's
Right, and that's not what this is about. This is about integrating this into your third dimensional life
yeah.
to make everything better for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like that.
Blame and victimhood is my last one that I list.
Mhm.
And again, there's a lot of blame
Yeah.
on, well, I'm not happy because this other person, or because this thing happened to me 20 years ago, or
Oh, yeah.
because whatever.
We're familiar with that.
Mhm.
Yes,
Probably. Agreed.
So that's the block section. Section.
I actually wanted to talk a little bit about, because we do talk about like confidence and stuff in here. I thought you had an interesting take on like self love and self confidence, and you kind of like took it away from like just not just with your body, but also like it's a confidence in your own self and your own knowing. If
It's
you're
confiding
Yeah.
in yourself.
confiding in
The
yourself.
95%.
95%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really
Like when I can't figure out this problem or the solution to this thing,
Mhm.
why don't I ask inside?
right.
And what I did to you was I separated your ego
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
before you did the past life regression.
Right.
And there is an ego separation technique in here
Yeah.
that I use with a lot of my clients so they can do it themselves.
Also, another thing that really stood out to me, and maybe because I'm just focused on boundaries right now in my personal life, but you said something very profound, I thought, and you're like, oftentimes a lack of boundaries in your life is a lack of boundaries with your ego. I was like,
Yeah, I
ooh.
like
I never thought of
hit
it like it
different.
hit different for me. Yeah.
So many people are pushed around by their own ego mind.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
You're not good enough.
Mhm.
You're not going to do this right. Or it says you're better than everybody else.
Mhm.
None of those are true.
You had a great affirmation. I think it was no ego. I choose my
I
soul
choose my soul
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm saying that. For
Yeah,
sure.
no ego. I
You
choose
taught me
my
that
soul.
last year.
Mhm.
So saying it right now, I'm like, yeah, it's a great statement to keep saying
Mhm.
throughout the day almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Or when people wake up at 3 a.m. and they can't sleep. I have a lot of clients
Oh,
who
yeah.
can't
That's a
sleep.
good idea.
It's like, because that's when we finally get quiet enough
Mhm.
that our mind's like, okay, now I can talk to you about all this stuff we should worry about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shut up.
Yeah.
No ego. I choose my soul.
Yeah.
You're out.
I love that. That's a good.
Or the technique, which is my balloon technique,
Yeah, I like the
that
balloon
is
technique.
in the book.
Mhm.
Book.
Talk
Yeah.
I didn't get to the balloon technique.
Yeah, I was telling her
Oh, you
how
did?
that was one thing you did with me when I started seeing you last year again for like the defragmenting and everything, the balloon technique. And it's awesome because it's basically a way to get all those, well, I know we don't want to say negative or positive, but those thoughts
Well, the
into unnecessary is a good
thoughts and emotions that are no longer serving you.
word.
Mhm.
It
That's
allows
why
you
I
to kind
don't-
of like acknowledge them and then let them out, and then
Okay.
the balloon floats away with those thoughts,
Oh yeah.
and you
Okay.
forget about
I
them,
like
kind of
that.
thing.
So
It's
what
an
do you
easy technique.
Yeah. So what do you do if you don't know what they are?
That's
Because
yeah.
we have a lot of suppressed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just say, and I have it in here, all thoughts and emotions, known or unknown to
Mhm.
me, leave me now and go in the balloon. And
I
then you
like
let go
that.
of the balloon.
Ooh, I like the unknown part too.
Known
Yeah.
or unknown. Because
big part of it.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
subconscious stuff
Stuff,
that we don't
absolutely.
remember.
It's not in our conscious brain.
Mhm.
And you
So
have that
it's-
on your website, right? The audio version of it?
Yes,
Okay.
on commandifestation.com
Perfect.
is
Awesome.
the audio version anyone can download
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
and use.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. No, it's a great book. I'm not wrapping up or anything, but what I will say, I'm not a big reader, but I love this
Oh,
book because
thanks for
one,
reading.
it's easy to read. When I like stuff like this, so I will read these kinds of books. But what I will also say is I feel like I've read a lot of books, especially like spiritual books, and they're like, we're gonna get to that later. And you realize after the book's over, like, I don't think that ever was
Really?
addressed later. But I
Aw.
loved it because not only did you get to it later, but I love the exercises at the end. Like I was telling her, we're gonna be fighting for that book because we both have the exercises. I'm like, I just like that it's giving me something to work on, not just tell me this is what you need to do, but I'm not gonna help you do it. So anyway,
implement-
I
it's
love that you're
implementing
implementing it and you're like teaching us what to do, and I love that.
Yes,
So thanks for adding those
because
in there.
my
Mhm.
whole mission is to help empower people.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, I'll do commandifestation coaching sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'll do past life regression. I'll do psychic readings. I'll do all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
as long as I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But ideally, I want to empower people so they don't,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
so they can do it themselves.
No, I love it.
And you talk about like the law of attraction in each step in the
Mhm.
book.
Mhm.
Like you
Mhm.
lay up, I think it was like 4 things. And I'm just curious, like how you think if it's different, like commandifestation might be different than what people think of law of attraction or manifestation.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're.
The difference to me is that the law of attraction states think about what you want, feel the emotion of it,
Mhm.
and then wait for it to manifest. Well, most people are like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Mhm.
Well, I still don't have any money. Where is it? I'm saying first believe that you deserve whatever it
Right.
is, but you got to let go of the attachment of having it.
Mhm.
Because I could almost guarantee your 95% soul has a better idea
Right.
Yeah.
than you have.
I used to always joke and
so-
say that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That's
this is about not like, pretty please if you think I deserve it. It's like, bring it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
It's like a deserving, confident energy too.
Yeah, it is. It comes from confidence when you say, show me how you'd like to fill up my schedule today, or show me how you'd like,
That's a
show
great
me
one.
who you'd like to align with as a life partner.
Mm.
Ooh.
I'm
Keeping
reading-
that
Yes. I'll be listening to this multiple times.
Take that timestamp.
No, but for real.
Right.
I'm ready.
Or
I
if
claim
it's-
that.
Both of those.
Yeah, those are both really good. Or if it's money,
Mhm.
people's minds tend to think, well, I work this job for this many hours. This is how I make money. Show me, soul, other ways to make money
Mhm.
that I haven't
Love
thought of.
Yeah.
Show me what else is possible. That's a
Mm.
big one I have
Oh,
in
love
bold.
that.
Yeah, I
in the
did
book.
remember that one. Showing
What else
possible.
is possible?
I
Yeah.
ear tagged a lot of these.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone needs to go get this.
No,
book,
you
like,
seriously do.
ASAP.
I'm not just saying like because Cindy's
No.
sitting next to me. I would tell you that in a
Yeah.
Aw, thank
room
you.
alone. Seriously.
There's so many
Because it's so
exercises.
easy to read. There's some against more spiritual books that are like the way the language they use. You're like, I kind of understand it, but I feel like I'm decoding something.
Well, I know.
This is so
and-
like I remember you told me when you dropped it off. You're like, I get to the point, and I agree.
Yeah.
You like get to the point. You tell us what it is, and you tell us how to work on it, and I respect that.
we are so bombarded with information right now.
Yeah.
We need to get to the point
Right.
because
Mhm.
I want somebody to be able to read all of it.
I'm a
You
reader.
know?
And I'm
Like-
admittedly not a reader. I'll do
Same.
audiobook as like a
Mhm.
happy medium for me just so I can like get the information.
I know.
Because
Same.
I'll like fall asleep or whatever. I read this in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the last time I did that.
That's
So
not like that
That's
too.
right. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Same way.
Because we don't have time for fluff.
No,
No.
and I'm like you.
Right
I
now.
like to get to the point, and this has
Yeah.
really good
It was
exercise
so
that you
to
can
it.
implement like quickly. It's not
And
going to
on
take
the
your whole
spot.
day. It's not going to take 4 hours
No,
of
that's right.
ritual or
That's right.
whatever.
It's like a phrase.
So-
You say the phrase. Yeah.
Right.
No, I love it.
So this has been out for 4 months now,
Oh,
about,
Awesome.
and I still can't think of anything I'd want to add to it.
That's
I love that, yeah.
awesome.
That's how comprehensive I feel it is.
Mhm.
great.
And it's changed my life.
No, it's awesome.
About to change mine.
I'll say
It is changing
it
mine.
is changing ours. It has changed.
It is.
Ours. It really has.
Yeah.
Actually, I was telling her even like a few days after I started reading it, I'm like, just things I'm starting to even think or say. I'm like pausing and I'm like, okay, wait, let me go back and like reframe.
Mhm.
We talk a lot about reframing in some of our other
Reframing, yes.
podcasts, but I feel like I don't know, it was like a different way for me to reframe things that has actually felt effective. So anyway, I just
Yeah, I'm
appreciate.
glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
there's one other thread. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask you what you thought about the prayer etiquette.
Oh yeah, I love
like
that
that.
actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are told that we're not in control of our lives
Mm-hmm.
and we're at the mercy of some higher
Ooh,
being.
actually
And
what I was
I
gonna say.
believe, as I have described, that higher being's inside us. It's the 95%.
Yeah, I love that when you're like, God's will is actually your soul's
Yours.
will.
Yeah.
One thing that totally stood out to me and aligned with me completely was when you said, when we leave this earth and it's judgment day, that it's really like you're looking back on your life and looking at how you've lived it, not necessarily like a group of people up above, like judging how we lived.
No.
And
I
that
don't.
spoke to me. I don't know why, because I've always said it never made sense to me what people tell you with that. And the way you
Mhm.
wrote it, I was like, that makes sense. Like, we're going to look back on how we lived and like, what do we want to do the next time we come back? Or, what do we want to learn? And
Right. The
Yeah.
angels that I was channeling, the whole angelic realm that I
Mhm.
channel out once, they said, no, that no spirit consciousness in all of the multiverse, they said
Mhm.
multiverse,
Mhm.
decides what you deserve. That is all in your mind.
Yeah, I love that.
It's great.
Mhm.
And no task is too big or too small to
Right.
ask the angels. I love that
Oh,
too.
that's
Or
great.
any
Right.
spirit that you might
Sure.
Mhm.
feel connected to.
It's
Yep.
definitely a book you need to read multiple times too, because you pick up different things
Yeah.
as you're,
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
great.
pretty dense.
It is.
So it doesn't look like much, but
Oh, there's a
There's
lot.
so many
though.
things. Yeah.
because there's no fluff.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. You
'Cause
get to the
I
point.
don't like
Mhm.
fluff. I want to get to the point.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like those books where it's like, well, and I do tease some stuff for later,
Mhm.
but I have
you
to
get to it
I
later.
have to get you there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can't just jump to the end.
Oh, I agree.
And maybe you can.
Mm.
But
I like the way you laid
it
it
seems
out.
like
Mhm.
you have to know what you're doing and how to correct that
Right.
if it's not working for you.
I agree.
Because I do go into how to correct the blocks,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
not just telling you what they are and
Oh,
then
I know
leaving
that
you
was
hanging.
always my biggest pet peeve is if people tell
That's what
you
I'm
what something
saying.
is, but then I don't know how. Okay, well I know that,
Well,
but how am I going
right.
to change it now?
It drives me
Yeah, that
insane
drives
when I
me-
read stuff. They're like, you need to do this. Great, but how?
Oh, yeah, how? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
how?
why? And I
Yeah.
think I gave you the why
You
too.
did. Mhm. That's great.
Like I had a client recently say, I don't know how to love myself. And I'm like, well, let me quote page 61
Love this
Love
book.
for you. It means taking care of your own requirements and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. So many people I talk to are people pleasers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I'm a people pleaser. Whoa, that's an I am
It's an
statement.
I am. I was gonna say it's funny.
And
You're
it goes
saying
I'm
back
a
to
that's
people
what you say.
boundaries
pleaser. I
again.
say, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You are an eternal soul with no body, no thought, and no personality.
Mhm.
So this people pleasing thing, that's a choice you're making every
Mhm.
day.
I love that.
Mhm.
Or
That's
I'm a worrier.
Oh boy,
I
I
know.
know.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful
Mhm.
the I ams
The
what
I
you
am,
put
like you
after
said.
that.
Everything that follows I am
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Mhm.
Now, some people are happy when they're hurting other people.
Oh yeah.
Some people are happy when they're manipulating other people. So when people say, well, am I happy? Are you happy? Is my son happy? Is my daughter happy? I'm like, I don't know what happy means to them.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
And in a channeling session recently, a person on Zoom asked, can we pull, this is interesting with the past life thing,
Mhm.
can we pull positive memories from other lifetimes into this one?
Oh.
And I'm like, this will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm over here and
Yeah.
the angels are talking through me.
Yeah.
And they say, you don't know what you thought was positive back then. You don't know what you were judging as positive.
Yeah, it could be
That's
different.
true.
Yeah.
That could
Yeah.
be murdering people.
Right.
That's true.
You might have
You don't
loved
want to
it.
pull that into this
No,
lifetime.
that's a good point.
Interesting. Yeah.
So they say that is not advisable.
I love it.
I was just saying, I have a similar, it's off topic, but similar, like being in real estate. When people ask if this is a good area, I could never say if that was a
For
good
you.
area because to me, maybe it is, but to that person, it isn't.
So do you ask them what does good mean to you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
you have to kind of research that yourself because I
Yeah,
couldn't
you
tell
have to
you
determine
based
that.
on that's based on my
Yeah.
experience and my perception of what's
Mhm.
good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Whenever
Good
somebody
example.
asks, I'll be looking at tarot cards.
yeah,
Mhm.
well, is that a good
good?
change? I see a big change coming. Is that going to be good? I'm like, I don't know how you're going to choose to perceive
Yeah,
it.
It
that's
could be, yeah.
exactly.
Could be.
Depends,
Yeah, exactly.
Because good and bad are just concepts.
Mhm.
Yep. That's a whole nother
It's a
rabbit
whole
hole we
other
can
combo.
get to.
I know.
You do have a nice graph or like graph in here that kind of shows like the
Yeah,
both
like
positive
Yes,
and negative, and
my
like
chart.
If
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
chart. And
Yeah.
if you're feeling this way, how you can kind of turn it around to
Right.
more
The
positive.
the duality
Yeah,
chart.
duality chart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good chart.
I recently had a client who was in a terminal illness situation, and I went to visit him, and he said, "Can you bring me a copy of your book? I don't have mine here, and I just want to look at that chart."
Oh.
You know, he just wanted to make
again.
sure he was on the high frequency
Mhm.
end of the chart.
I
That's
love that.
amazing.
I said, "Just stay peaceful
Yeah.
Aw.
and trust."
Yeah.
You know.
That's powerful.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, what an honor.
Yeah,
I was just
seriously.
saying.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
You're changing
someone
people's
wants-
lives.
Yeah, and if someone wants to get the book,
Yeah, where
can
they
go?
should find you.
Well, you can find me on cindyriggs.com.
Mhm.
Obviously, commandifestation.com goes with the book,
Mhm.
but cindyriggs.com, you can get a signed copy from me delivered to you, or you can get it from Amazon. It's also on
Okay.
Kindle, and there will be an audio book in the future.
Oh, awesome.
Audio, we love
We
audio.
love
I was gonna
that. See,
say,
that's my
we're
style
not-
too. Maybe we won't fight over this. Well, thank you so
Right.
much,
Thank you
Cindy.
so
That was
much.
awesome.
Thanks for
Yes,
having
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
Appreciate Commandifest a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Love
Yes,
it. And everyone pick up a copy.
I claim that.
Yes, claiming it. Bye,
Bye,
beauties.
Boxland Media. Think big.